The Shadow Queen's Return, Complete Story. Part 1, The Betrayal and Disappearance. The perfect life shattered. The champagne bubbles caught the chandelier light like tiny diamonds as Elena Romano raised her glass. Around her, 200 guests applauded, celebrating 5 years of her marriage to Marcus Kane. She smiled, the perfect picture of happiness in her silver gown, her dark hair swept up elegantly. But inside, her heart was breaking into 1,000 pieces. Just 2 hours ago, she had walked into Marcus's home office looking for him. The party planners had questions about the seating arrangements. What she found instead changed everything. His laptop was open, messages displayed on the screen. Messages between Marcus and Victoria. Her best friend. Her maid of honor. The woman who had helped her choose her wedding dress. The messages weren't just flirtatious. They were explicit, detailed, and worst of all, they went back 3 years. 3 years of lies, 3 years of betrayal happening right under her nose while she trusted them both completely. But that wasn't even the worst part. As Elena scrolled through the conversation, unable to stop herself despite the pain, she found something that made her blood run cold. "The plan is working perfectly," Marcus had written. "She trusts me with everything now. Once we get her to sign those gallery transfer papers, we'll have access to the Romano art collection. $50 million worth of paintings, and she has no idea." Victoria's response was even worse. "I almost feel bad sometimes. She thinks I'm her best friend. But that collection should have been mine anyway. Her family never deserved it. 2 more months and we'll have everything. Then we can finally be together without hiding." Elena had stood frozen in that office, the phone in her hand feeling like it weighed 100 pounds. Her family's art collection. The legacy her grandmother had built over 60 years. The paintings her father had died protecting when their house caught fire. Marcus wanted to steal it all. Now, standing at this anniversary party surrounded by people who had no idea what was happening, Elena felt like she was watching her life from outside her body. Marcus approached her, looking handsome in his tailored suit, his smile perfect for the cameras. "To my beautiful wife," he said loudly, wrapping his arm around her waist. 5 years of happiness, and many more to come. Elena saw Victoria standing near the back of the room, wearing the red dress Elena had helped her pick out last week. Victoria raised her glass, her smile just as fake as Marcus's words. The crowd applauded again, and Elena wanted to scream. But she couldn't. Not yet. She needed to be smart about this. The setup revealed. Over the next 2 weeks, Elena played the role of the loving, trusting wife while secretly investigating. She hired a private investigator named James Morrison, paying him with money from her personal account that Marcus didn't know about. What James discovered was worse than she imagined. Marcus and Victoria had been planning this for 4 years, since before the wedding. They had met at an art auction where Victoria was working as an assistant. Marcus was already wealthy, but he wanted more. When he learned about Elena's family collection and her successful art gallery, he saw an opportunity. Victoria had approached Elena at a coffee shop, pretending it was a chance meeting. She had cultivated their friendship carefully, learning everything about Elena's life, her passwords, her business practices, her fears and dreams. Everything was calculated. The papers Marcus wanted Elena to sign weren't just transfer documents. Hidden in the legal language was a clause that would give him complete control over her family trust fund, her gallery, and the art collection. James found emails between Marcus and a lawyer discussing how to make Elena appear mentally unstable if she ever questioned the documents. "We'll say she's been acting erratic," the lawyer had written. "Depression, anxiety, maybe even substance abuse. With the right witnesses and medical reports, we can have her declared incompetent. Then Marcus gets everything as her guardian." Elena sat in her car outside the investigator's office, reading through the evidence with shaking hands. They were going to steal everything and destroy her reputation. They were going to make people think she was crazy. And then what? Would they eventually arrange an accident? Would they make her disappear? She thought about going to the police, but James shook his head. They haven't actually done anything illegal yet, he explained. Planning isn't a crime. And Marcus has connections. His lawyer could argue these are just theoretical discussions. You need more evidence, or you need to catch them in the act. But Elena knew she didn't have time for that. Marcus had been pressuring her to sign the papers, saying they were just routine updates to their estate planning. He was getting impatient. Victoria had been suggesting Elena see a therapist, planting seeds that maybe Elena was stressed, overworked, not herself lately. The trap was closing around her, and she needed to act fast. The frame and fall. It happened on a Tuesday morning. Elena arrived at her gallery, Romano Fine Arts, to find police cars outside. Detective Sarah Chen met her at the door, her expression serious. Ms. Romano, we need to talk about some irregularities in your business accounts. Elena's stomach dropped. What irregularities? Over the next hour, Elena learned that someone had been embezzling money from the gallery for months. Fake invoices, forged signatures, missing artwork. The total was over $2 million. And all the evidence pointed to her. That's impossible, Elena said, her voice shaking. I didn't do this. Someone is framing me. But as Detective Chen showed her the documents, Elena recognized Marcus's work. He had access to everything. He had helped her set up the gallery's accounting system. He knew all her passwords because she had trusted him completely. We also received an anonymous tip, Detective Chen said carefully. Someone sent us photos of you meeting with known art forgers. Documents showing you plan to sell fake paintings as originals. Elena felt the room spinning. The photos were real, but completely misrepresented. She had been investigating a forger last year, trying to verify the authenticity of a painting for a client. Marcus had been with her. He had taken those photos himself, saying he wanted to document the process. He had been planning this for over a year. Every moment, every gesture of support, had been setting her up for this fall. The news spread quickly. By afternoon, every media outlet in the city was running the story. Respected gallery owner accused of art fraud. Elena's photo was everywhere, looking guilty in every frame. Her phone exploded with calls, messages, accusations. Marcus played his part perfectly. He released a statement saying he was shocked and devastated. I'm standing by my wife during this difficult time, he told reporters. I believe she's been under tremendous stress. I'm encouraging her to seek help. Victoria posted on social media about how worried she was about her best friend. Elena hasn't been herself lately. I've been concerned about her mental health. I just hope she gets the help she needs. They were executing their plan flawlessly. Making Elena look criminal or crazy, possibly both. Her lawyer told her the case against her was strong. Someone had done an excellent job of creating false evidence. She was looking at serious prison time. That night, sitting in her house with police guards outside, Elena made a decision. No one would believe her. Marcus had too much power, too many connections. Victoria was too good at playing the concerned friend. The justice system wouldn't save her. Traditional methods had failed. She needed to disappear. The disappearance and secret watching. Elena spent the next 3 days preparing. She withdrew cash from accounts Marcus didn't know about, money her grandmother had left her in a separate trust. She contacted a man James the investigator had mentioned once, someone who helped people disappear when they needed to. His name was Robert, and he asked no questions. For $50,000, he provided her with a new identity, documents, and a plan. You'll be dead within a week, he told her. Car accident, body too burned to identify clearly, dental records will match. Your DNA will be in the system. Everyone will believe you're gone. Elena thought about her life, everything she was leaving behind. Her gallery, her reputation, her home. But staying meant prison or worse. Marcus and Victoria would win completely. They would have everything while she rotted in a cell or ended up truly dead. No. She wouldn't let that happen. The accident was staged perfectly. Elena's car went off a cliff on a rainy night, exploding on impact. The body inside was a Jane Doe from the morgue, someone with no family, no one to claim her. Robert handled all the details. The DNA matched because Robert had connections in the right places. Within 24 hours, Elena Romano was officially dead. From a hotel room 300 miles away, Elena watched the news coverage. Marcus stood outside their home, Victoria beside him, both looking appropriately devastated. Marcus's statement was perfect. My wife couldn't handle the pressure of the accusations. She told me she didn't do anything wrong, but the stress was too much. I should have seen the signs. I should have gotten her help sooner. I'll never forgive myself. Victoria cried on camera. She was my best friend. I loved her like a sister. I wish I could have saved her. Elena watched them embrace, watched Marcus pull Victoria close in what looked like friendly comfort, but Elena knew was something else entirely. She saw Victoria's hand grip Marcus's suit jacket just a little too tight. Saw the way they looked at each other when they thought the cameras weren't watching. 2 days later, at Elena's funeral, over 500 people came. The gallery staff, artists she had helped, clients who had bought paintings from her, people from her childhood. Marcus gave a beautiful eulogy, his voice breaking at just the right moments. Elena was the love of my life, he said, tears streaming down his face. She was kind, talented, and passionate about art. I'll miss her every day for the rest of my life. The accusations against her were lies. She was innocent, and I'll spend the rest of my life proving that and clearing her name. The crowd believed him. Elena, watching from behind dark sunglasses and a scarf at the back of the church, felt sick. He was so good at this. So convincing. Even now, even after everything, part of her wanted to believe he actually cared. But then she saw him leave with Victoria after the funeral. Saw them drive to a hotel instead of home. Saw Victoria's car stay parked there until morning. 1 week after the funeral, Marcus filed the insurance claim. $5 million on Elena's life insurance policy. The policy she had signed when they got married, naming him as the sole beneficiary. 2 weeks after that, Victoria moved into Elena's house. Into the home Elena had decorated, the bedroom where Elena had slept, the life Elena had built. Marcus told people Victoria needed support during this difficult time, that they were helping each other grieve. 3 weeks after the funeral, Elena read about how Marcus was working with the police to clear his late wife's name. How he had hired lawyers and investigators to prove Elena had been framed. He was playing the role of the devoted husband perfectly, gaining sympathy and admiration while positioning himself to take control of everything Elena had owned. Sitting in a cheap apartment under her new name, Aria Frost, Elena made a promise to herself. She would come back. She would expose them. She would take back everything they had stolen and destroy them the way they had tried to destroy her. But first, she needed to become someone new. Someone stronger. Someone they would never see coming. The old Elena Romano was dead and buried. Aria Frost was just being born. And Aria Frost would show them what real revenge looked like. Part 2, The Transformation and Rising. Rebirth in the Shadows. 6 months after her death, Aria Frost sat in a small office in New York City, reviewing financial documents. She looked nothing like Elena Romano. Her long dark hair was now short and platinum blonde. Colored contacts changed her brown eyes to striking green. She had lost weight, her face more angular, her style completely different. Where Elena had been soft and elegant, Aria was sharp and modern. The transformation wasn't just physical. Aria had spent every day of the past 6 months rebuilding herself from the inside out. She took online courses in business management, digital marketing, and corporate law. She learned about investments, hedge funds, and offshore accounts. She studied her enemies, tracking every move Marcus and Victoria made. Marcus had taken control of the Romano art collection as Elena's widower, claiming he was preserving his late wife's legacy. The gallery was closed, supposedly temporarily, but Arya knew he was selling pieces quietly through private channels. Victoria had quit her old job and now worked as Marcus's art consultant, the perfect cover for their partnership. They had gotten away with everything. The fraud charges against Elena were quietly dropped after her death, explained away as a misunderstanding or the actions of someone in mental distress. Marcus was seen as the grieving husband who stood by his wife even in scandal. His business reputation had actually improved. It made Arya sick, but it also fueled her determination. She worked 3 jobs in those first months, saving every penny. She waited tables at an upscale restaurant where wealthy clients discussed business deals. She worked as a night security guard at an art storage facility, learning the security systems and making connections. She did freelance art authentication online under a different fake name, using her expertise to build capital. Every dollar went into her plan. She couldn't just expose Marcus and Victoria. She needed to destroy them completely, take back what was hers, and make sure they could never hurt anyone else again. That required money, connections, and patience. Building the empire. By month 9, Arya had saved $200,000. She used it to start a consulting business, Frost Advisory Services. She positioned herself as a mysterious expert in art acquisition and authentication for wealthy collectors who valued discretion. Her first real client was a billionaire named Catherine Wells who wanted to verify a Monet painting before purchase. Arya's detailed analysis saved Catherine from buying a forgery worth $3 million. Catherine was impressed and began recommending Arya to her wealthy friends. Within 3 months, Arya had 10 high-profile clients. Within 6 months, she had 20. Her reputation grew in elite circles as someone who could spot a fake painting in seconds, who understood the black market art world, and who could acquire pieces that others couldn't find. She was careful never to work with anyone connected to Marcus. She built her empire quietly, creating wealth and connections while staying completely off Marcus's radar. To the world, Arya Frost was a newcomer, a mysterious expert who had appeared from nowhere with exceptional skills. Behind the scenes, Arya was learning everything about Marcus and Victoria's operation. She discovered they were running a sophisticated fraud scheme. They would have the Romano collection pieces copied by expert forgers, then sell the real paintings through private channels while displaying the fakes in temporary exhibitions under the gallery's name. They had already sold 8 paintings, making over $30 million. The money was hidden in offshore accounts under shell companies. Victoria managed the sales while Marcus maintained his public image as the grieving husband protecting his wife's legacy. But Arya also discovered something else. Marcus and Victoria's relationship was falling apart. The stress of maintaining their lies, the greed and paranoia were creating cracks. Victoria wanted to go public with their relationship, but Marcus insisted they needed to wait longer. Victoria felt used, like she had done all the dirty work while Marcus got all the credit. Arya realized that their weakness could be her weapon. The unexpected ally. The connection with Damien Cross happened by accident, though later Arya would wonder if anything in life was truly accidental. She was at an art auction, bidding on behalf of a client. A Renoir sketch was up for sale, and Arya knew it was authentic despite questions about its provenance. She bid aggressively, but so did someone else. A man across the room, tall and dark-haired, wearing an expensive suit, kept matching her bids. The price climbed higher than the piece was worth. Arya's client had authorized up to $500,000. The bidding was at $480,000 when Arya made her final offer. The man countered. Arya shook her head, withdrawing. After the auction, he approached her. "You knew when to stop," he said. His voice was deep, professional, with a hint of amusement. "That piece isn't worth more than $450,000. I overpaid, but I needed it for a specific collection." "Then congratulations on your purchase," Arya replied coolly. He smiled. "I'm Damien Cross. I run Cross Industries." And you are? Arya Frost. I run Frost Advisory. Recognition flickered in his dark eyes. The authentication expert everyone's talking about. I've been wanting to meet you. Over coffee, Damien explained he was looking for an art consultant for his company's collection. Cross Industries was a massive corporation with interests in technology, real estate, and venture capital. Damien collected art as both passion and investment. He was also, Arya learned, Marcus Kane's biggest business rival. Kane and I have been competing for years, Damien said. We bid on the same properties, the same companies, the same opportunities. He usually wins because he's willing to cut corners, make deals I won't make. Arya kept her expression neutral. You don't like him. I don't trust him, Damien corrected. Something about his success in the past year feels wrong. His late wife's art gallery closure, the way he's been liquidating that collection privately. It doesn't add up. Arya's heart raced, but she kept her voice steady. What makes you say that? Instinct. I've been in business long enough to recognize when someone is hiding something. Kane is hiding something big. This was an opportunity Arya hadn't expected. Damien Cross had resources, connections, and a reason to investigate Marcus. But she needed to be careful. She couldn't reveal who she really was, not yet. Trust was dangerous. Over the next 2 months, Arya and Damien worked together. She consulted on his art collection, and they discovered they had similar tastes, similar views on business ethics, similar values. They spent long hours in galleries and museums, discussing art and philosophy, debating business strategies. Damien was different from Marcus in every way. Where Marcus was charming but calculating, Damien was honest and direct. Where Marcus manipulated, Damien negotiated. Where Marcus lied, Damien told uncomfortable truths. Arya found herself attracted to him, which terrified her. She had sworn off trust, off relationships, off believing anyone could truly care about her. But Damien made her want to try again, and that was dangerous. One evening, sitting in Damien's penthouse overlooking the city, discussing a painting acquisition, Damien put down his wine glass and looked at her seriously. There's something about you, Arya. Something you're not telling me. Arya's blood ran cold. What do you mean? You're brilliant at what you do. You understand art at a level that takes decades to develop. But you appeared out of nowhere 18 months ago. No history, no background anyone can verify. You're running from something or hiding from someone. That's a serious accusation, Arya said carefully. It's not an accusation. It's an observation. Damien leaned forward. I don't care what you're running from. Everyone has a past. But I want you to know that whatever it is, you're safe with me. I don't betray the people I care about. The sincerity in his voice made Arya want to cry. She wanted to tell him everything. Wanted to trust him with her secrets, her pain, her plan. But fear held her back. Marcus had taught her that trust was a weapon people used against you. I appreciate that, she said quietly. But some secrets need to stay secret. Damien nodded, accepting her boundary. Fair enough. But when you're ready, I'm here. That night, alone in her apartment, Arya made a decision. She would use Damien's resources to investigate Marcus, but she would keep him at arm's length emotionally. She couldn't afford to fall for someone, not when she was so close to getting her revenge. Gathering evidence and planning the strike. By month 15, Arya had everything she needed. She had rebuilt her wealth, accumulated powerful connections, and gathered evidence of Marcus and Victoria's crimes. She had bank records, communication logs, testimony from the forgers they had hired, and documentation of every painting they had sold illegally. She also had evidence of other crimes. In researching Marcus, Arya discovered he had done this before. 3 years before meeting Elena, Marcus had romanced a widow named Patricia Thornton, a woman with a valuable jewelry collection. Patricia had died in what was ruled an accidental fall downstairs. Marcus inherited her jewelry, which he sold immediately. The police had investigated but found no evidence of foul play. But Arya found deleted emails between Marcus and a friend, discussing how easy it had been to stage the accident. Patricia's children had always suspected Marcus, but without proof, they couldn't do anything. Marcus was more than a thief. He was potentially a murderer. And he had planned to do the same to Elena eventually, once he had everything he wanted from her. Arya contacted Patricia's daughter, Linda Thornton, who was now a lawyer. Linda was eager to help, still desperate to prove what Marcus had done to her mother. Together, they built a case that went beyond art fraud. This was about exposing a predator who had destroyed multiple lives. Damien noticed Arya becoming more focused, more driven. "You're planning something," he said one day. "Something big." "Maybe," Arya admitted. "Does it involve Cain?" She looked at him, surprised. "Why would you think that?" "Because every time his name comes up, you get this look in your eyes. Like you're calculating something. Like you know something about him that others don't." Damien paused. "I told you I want to bring him down. If you know something, let me help." Arya was torn. Damien could be a powerful ally. But involving him meant revealing herself, risking everything. She had been alone for so long, trusting no one, depending on no one. Could she really let someone in now? "I need to think about it," she said finally. But events moved faster than she expected. 2 days later, Arya received a message from one of her informants. Marcus and Victoria were having a major fight. Victoria had discovered Marcus was planning to cut her out completely. He had been setting up accounts in his name only, preparing to disappear with all the money and leave Victoria to take the blame for everything. Victoria was threatening to go to the police, to expose everything if Marcus didn't give her half of what they had stolen. Marcus was panicking. And panicked people made mistakes. This was the moment Arya had been waiting for. But it also meant she needed to act fast, before Marcus did something desperate. Before someone else got hurt. She called Damien. "I need your help. Tonight. And I need you to trust me completely without asking questions." There was a pause. Then Damien said, "Tell me where to meet you." As Arya prepared for what came next, she looked at herself in the mirror. Arya Frost had been a disguise, a shield, a weapon she had forged to protect herself and strike back at her enemies. But underneath, Elena Romano was still there. Scarred, changed, but alive. It was time for Elena to rise from the dead. And when she did, Marcus Cain and Victoria Chen would learn that the woman they had buried was far more dangerous than they had ever imagined. Part 3, The Revenge and Redemption. The Grand Return. The Bennett Tower was the most expensive venue in the city. Marcus Cain had rented it for his foundation's annual gala, an event celebrating art and culture. 500 wealthy donors, artists, and business leaders would attend. The media would be everywhere. It was the perfect stage for what Arya had planned. Marcus had created the Elena Romano Memorial Foundation 6 months after her death, claiming he wanted to honor his wife's passion for art by providing scholarships to young artists. In reality, it was a money laundering operation, a way to move stolen funds while improving his public image. Tonight was the foundation's biggest fundraiser. Marcus would give a speech about his late wife's legacy, accept donations, and cement his reputation as a devoted widower philanthropist. Victoria would be there as his date, finally public with their relationship, now that enough time had passed. They had no idea that Elena was coming back from the dead. Arya arrived at the gala at 8 p.m., wearing a stunning black gown that Elena would never have worn. Her blonde hair was styled dramatically, her makeup bold. She looked nothing like the woman in the memorial photos displayed throughout the venue. Damien was with her, dressed in a sharp tuxedo. He still didn't know everything, but he knew enough. Arya had told him that Marcus Cain had destroyed someone she loved, and tonight was about justice. Damien asked no more questions, just offered his support. At the entrance, Arya handed her invitation to the attendant. The name on it read Arya Frost, +1. Marcus wouldn't recognize the name. He had no idea who Arya Frost was or what she represented. Inside, the ballroom was elegant, decorated with flowers and ice sculptures. A string quartet played classical music. Waiters carried champagne and appetizers. Everyone was laughing, networking, celebrating. On the walls, large photographs of Elena Romano smiled down at the crowd, frozen in time, a saint in her own memorial. Arya saw Marcus across the room, looking handsome in his tuxedo, shaking hands with the mayor. Victoria stood beside him in a red dress, her arm linked through his, finally able to touch him publicly without hiding. They looked happy, successful, untouchable. But Arya knew their secrets. She knew about the forged paintings, the stolen money, the lies. She knew about Patricia Thornton and the other woman Marcus had scammed before Elena. She knew everything, and tonight everyone else would know too. At 8:30, Marcus stepped onto the stage to give his speech. The crowd quieted. Spotlights illuminated him, making him look like a hero, a man of substance and grief. "Thank you all for being here tonight," Marcus began, his voice rich with emotion. 18 months ago, I lost the love of my life. My wife Elena was brilliant, kind, and passionate about art. She dedicated her life to helping artists succeed, to preserving beauty in the world. When she died, I was lost. But then I realized the best way to honor her was to continue her work through this foundation. The crowd applauded. Arya felt sick watching him lie so smoothly, using her name, her reputation, her actual passion for art to cover his crimes. Elena would have loved seeing all of you here, Marcus continued. She believed art could change lives. That's why this foundation provides scholarships, why we support young artists who might not have opportunities otherwise. It's what Elena would have wanted. Is it really? Arya's voice rang out clear and strong from the back of the ballroom. The crowd turned. Marcus froze on stage, searching for who had spoken. Arya began walking forward through the crowd, Damien beside her. People stepped aside, curious, confused. Is that really what Elena would have wanted? Arya repeated, louder now. Or is this foundation just a way to launder the money you stole from her art collection? Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Marcus's face went pale. Victoria grabbed his arm, her eyes wide with panic. Security guards started moving toward Arya, but Damien stepped forward, his presence and reputation making them hesitate. I don't know who you are, Marcus said, trying to regain control, but this is not the time or place for baseless accusations. Security, please escort this woman out. My name is Arya Frost, Arya said, still walking forward until she stood in the center of the ballroom where everyone could see her. But that's not the name you know me by. Is it, Marcus? She reached up and removed her wig. Her short blonde hair fell away, revealing longer hair underneath, hair she had been growing back for months. She removed her colored contacts, revealing her natural brown eyes. She shifted her posture, her expression, becoming someone else. The transformation was subtle but significant. And Marcus saw it. Recognition and horror dawned on his face. No, he whispered. That's impossible. Hello, Marcus, Elena said, using her real voice for the first time in 18 months. Did you miss me? The ballroom erupted in chaos. The truth unveiled. Elena Romano is dead. Victoria screamed from the stage. We buried her. This is some kind of sick joke, someone who looks like her trying to scam us. DNA evidence confirmed her death, Marcus added, though his voice shook. He was trying to convince himself as much as the crowd. This woman is an imposter. Elena smiled coldly. The DNA evidence was faked. The body in my car was a Jane Doe from the morgue. I arranged my own death because you left me no choice. You framed me for fraud, destroyed my reputation, and planned to steal everything I had. That's insane, Marcus said, but he was sweating now. Elena was mentally unstable. She was being investigated for embezzlement. She killed herself rather than face the consequences. I was framed, Elena said loudly, addressing the crowd. Marcus and Victoria spent years planning to steal my family's art collection. They had me sign documents I didn't understand. They created false evidence of fraud. They were going to have me declared mentally incompetent so Marcus could take control of everything as my guardian. Detective Sarah Chen stepped forward from the crowd. She had been waiting for this moment, working with Elena and Linda Thornton for months to build the case. We've been investigating Mr. Kane for the past 3 months, Detective Chen announced. Based on evidence provided by Ms. Romano and other victims. We have proof of fraud, embezzlement, conspiracy, and potentially murder. Murder? Someone in the crowd gasped. Patricia Thornton died 3 years ago in what was ruled an accident, Detective Chen continued. Marcus Kane inherited her valuable jewelry collection. We've reopened that investigation based on new evidence showing Kane planned her death. More police officers entered the ballroom, surrounding Marcus and Victoria. Marcus looked around desperately, searching for an escape, but there was none. You can't prove any of this, Victoria said, but her voice lacked conviction. Elena pulled out a tablet from her purse and handed it to Detective Chen. I can prove everything. Bank records showing where the stolen money went. Communications between Marcus and the forgers who copied my family's paintings. Emails discussing how to frame me. And recordings of Victoria admitting to her role in the conspiracy. Victoria's face went white. What recordings? You really should be more careful about where you have private conversations, Elena said. The forger you hired? He was wearing a wire. He's been cooperating with police for months in exchange for immunity. Marcus lunged toward Elena suddenly, but Damien stepped between them, his expression dangerous. Don't, Damien said quietly. It's over, Kane. Accept it. Security and police restrained Marcus. He was screaming now, his careful composure completely shattered. She's lying. She faked her death to frame me. She's the criminal, not me. But no one was listening. The evidence was too strong, too detailed. Detective Chen read Marcus and Victoria their rights as officers handcuffed them both. You destroyed my life, Elena said, stepping close to Marcus as police held him. You took everything from me. But I rebuilt myself stronger than before. And now I'm taking it all back. I loved you, Marcus spat. I gave you everything. You loved my money, Elena corrected. You never loved me. You're not capable of love. You're a predator who uses people and throws them away. But you made a mistake. You underestimated me. You thought I was weak, easy to break. You were wrong. As police led Marcus and Victoria away, the crowd stood in stunned silence. Reporters who had been covering the gala as a puff piece were now documenting the biggest scandal of the year. Cameras flashed. Phones recorded everything. Linda Thornton approached Elena, tears streaming down her face. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you for getting justice for my mother. We got justice for both of them, Elena said, embracing her. Love, trust, and new beginnings. The ballroom slowly cleared as police secured the scene and gathered evidence. Elena stood amid the chaos, feeling exhausted and exhilarated. It was over. Marcus and Victoria would face trial. Her name would be cleared. The Romano art collection would be returned to her. She had won. But as the adrenaline faded, Elena felt someone watching her. She turned to find Damien standing a few feet away, his expression unreadable. So, he said quietly. You're Elena Romano. Elena's heart sank. In the chaos of her revenge, she had almost forgotten that Damien didn't know who she really was. She had used him, lied to him, asked for his help without explaining why. He had every right to be angry. I'm sorry, she said. I should have told you. I wanted to, but I couldn't risk anyone finding out before tonight. Damien stepped closer. You've been planning this for 18 months. Everything you did, building your business, making connections, it was all preparation for this moment. Yes, Elena admitted. There was no point in lying now. I had to become someone else to survive. Arya Frost was armor, a weapon. But underneath, I was still Elena, still the woman Marcus tried to destroy. And us? Damien asked. What we've been building these past months. Was that part of the plan too? No, Elena said immediately, the truth rushing out. That was never part of the plan. I wasn't supposed to care about anyone. I wasn't supposed to trust anyone. But you made me want to try again, and that terrified me. Damien was quiet for a long moment. Elena held her breath, waiting for him to walk away, to tell her he couldn't trust someone who had lied so completely. Instead, he reached out and took her hand. I know what it's like to be betrayed, he said. To have someone you trust destroy everything. My first business partner did that to me 15 years ago. Stole everything and disappeared. I rebuilt from nothing, and I swore I'd never trust anyone again. What changed? Elena asked. I realized that living without trust isn't really living, Damien said. It's just surviving. And I didn't want to just survive anymore. He looked at her intently. You lied about your identity, but everything else was real, wasn't it? The conversations, the connection, the way we understood each other? Yes, Elena whispered. That was all real. You were the first person since Marcus who made me feel like I could be myself again. Then we start over, Damien said simply. No more secrets. No more Arya Frost. Just Elena and me, figuring out if what we have is worth building on. Elena felt tears filling her eyes. You still want to try? After everything? I watched you face down your abuser in front of 500 people, Damien said. I watched you take back your life with courage and intelligence. Why wouldn't I want to be with someone that strong? Elena laughed, crying at the same time. I don't feel strong. I feel terrified. Good, Damien said, pulling her close. That means you're human. Now let's go home. You've had a big night. Over the next 6 months, Elena rebuilt her life piece by piece. The fraud charges against her were officially dropped and her record cleared. Marcus and Victoria went to trial and were convicted on multiple counts. Marcus received 20 years for fraud, embezzlement, and conspiracy in Patricia Thornton's death. Victoria received 15 years for her role in the schemes. The Romano art collection was returned to Elena. She reopened her gallery, this time with stronger security and better financial controls. She hired a diverse staff and made the gallery a place where young artists could thrive, genuinely honoring the values Marcus had pretended to care about. She started a real foundation, not for money laundering, but to help other people who had been victims of fraud and domestic abuse. Linda Thornton became her partner in the project, and together they helped dozens of people rebuild their lives. Elena's relationship with Damien grew slowly, carefully. They both had scars, both had reasons to be cautious. But they built trust through honesty, supporting each other through difficult moments and celebrating small victories. 1 year after her return from the dead, Elena stood in her gallery at a new exhibition opening. The walls were covered with vibrant paintings from emerging artists. Music played softly. People laughed and discussed art. Everything felt alive, real, earned. Damien approached her, handing her a glass of champagne. Happy? Elena looked around at the life she had rebuilt, the gallery full of people, the art she loved, the man beside her who knew all her truths and chose her anyway. She thought about the woman she had been, drowning in expectations and betrayal. She thought about Arya Frost, the armor she had worn to survive. Yes, she said, meaning it completely. I'm happy. Good, Damien said, kissing her forehead. You deserve it. That night, after the gallery closed, Elena sat in her office and wrote a letter. Not to Marcus or Victoria, but to herself. To the Elena who had run away 18 months ago, desperate and broken. You survived, she wrote. You became stronger than you ever imagined possible. You learned that trust is risky but worthwhile. You discovered that revenge isn't about destroying others, it's about reclaiming yourself. You found out that love, real love, doesn't require you to be perfect. It just requires you to be honest. She sealed the letter and put it in her desk drawer. A reminder of how far she had come, of what she had overcome. Elena Romano had died and been resurrected. But this time, she had risen as herself, scarred but whole, cautious but open, and finally, truly free. The Shadow Queen had returned not to rule through fear, but to reclaim her life through courage. And that, Elena realized, was the best revenge of all. The end.